Understanding and reacting to ring rotations is one of the most dynamic aspects of Apex Legends. Most players just watch for the ring to change and then decide their map movement, thinking that the ring is random. While the ring doesn't always follow the same pattern, it definitely isn't random. How's it going, guys? My name is Valued, and by the end of this video, you're going to be predicting ring locations and rotating faster than any team on the map. So, without further ado, let's get right into the good stuff. First off, let's fully debunk this myth right now. The zone is not random in Apex Legends. While it doesn't follow the same path at some times, and some of the late game zones can get a bit messy, most zones throughout a game can be pretty easily predicted. Let's go over a few general rules the zone likes to follow, and then we can touch on some examples. The understanding of how zones like to behave was one of the most game-changing realizations that I had as a player, so guys, make sure to stick with me. Starting off a match, the first ring will usually be favoring a specific side of the map. Very rarely is the zone dead center, and what direction it's favoring is very important in predicting the following ring. If the first ring seems dead center, don't worry. The second ring will not be, and neither will any ring after that. Is the direction future rings will be hugging. Now guys, keep in mind, sometimes the zone does get a little bit wacky, so this rule of thumb is not followed, but these are pretty good guidelines to go off. As I said, this isn't the end of the story, as rings also have one other major factor that dictates their movement, and that is the zone also tries to get as many points of interest within its circle as well. This can be hard to judge quickly in a game, but generally the zone will avoid having too much open field or mountains within its boundaries. The zone maximizes how many developed areas it has within it, trying to keep the game interesting as it shrinks throughout the match. These two influences on the zone will give you a very strong guess of where future zones are going to be. So make sure to take note where the current zone is. Is it hugging a specific side of the map? Wherever it is hugging, it'll generally continue to pull in that direction. Now, figure out what POIs are in its path to determine what alterations on its route it will take. Keep in mind, the zone will always stay within itself throughout a match. So if you can pinpoint what major POIs are roughly on the path the zone is pulling, you'll have a solid bet on where that zone is headed. Not to mention, if you simply play enough games, you will end up seeing most zones a map has to offer, making it pretty easy to predict movement. Many of you with a bunch of games under your belt probably already do a lot of what we're talking about here so far, and maybe you don't even realize it. But having a full understanding on why the zone rotates the way it does will help you to always know why you're rotating the way you are. And if you need more help dissecting your game from rotations to gunfights, ProGuides.com has got you covered. From fundamental courses with players like Snipedown to one-on-one coaching with top Apex Predator players, there is an infinite wealth of knowledge just waiting for you to improve your game. Check it out in the description below. Alright guys, with that breakdown out of the way, let's talk about how you can use this info to get ahead in your games. Because after all, what would this be good for if we're just smashing pub lobbies or getting some RP, right? Accurately predicting the zone's movement allows you to be one step ahead of the rest of the lobby. But how do you actually use this info to gain an advantage? Well, let's get into that. So before we move into rotation, it's important to understand what you're looking for in your rotations. We've all heard that it's good to hug the skinny side of zone, but you might not fully understand why. Well, there are a few major reasons for this. First, the closer the zone is to the incoming storm, the slower it will close on you. If you've ever been way out from the next ring, booking it for your life halfway across the map, you know how fast that zone can really catch up to you. But if you're positioned at one of these skinny points, the zone moves very slowly because it closes evenly from all directions. The second major reason you want to hug the skinny portion of the zone is this position is usually very well suited for the next circle. As we talked about, the zone is going to keep pulling in the same direction each game. And if you're positioned at the skinny point, you're also guaranteed to be in a great spot for the next circle when it changes. And lastly, these inner portions of the zone are usually the safest positions to be in. If you're a squad we talked about earlier, sprinting across the map from the fat part of zone, you're putting yourself in a ton of danger versus being well positioned early at these skinny parts that we're talking about. So if you don't know what I mean, another way to think about that last point is it's a constrained portion of the zone, and Storm is called the dead side of zone. And the open side where the zone is closing the fastest, we like to call it the active side of the zone. The dead side of zone is the best place to be at all times if you're looking to win games. It's called the dead side because there's likely to be the least number of teams, and any teams that are already positioned there are likely hunkered down rather than just pushing around W keying. Not to mention, usually there are way less teams pushing the circle from this direction, and the zone offers a lot of protection if there was a team still pushing in. On the flip side, the active side of zone has teams pushing in from all directions, many of them frantic because the zone is closing in behind them. Trust me guys, you do not want to be on these teams trying to creep your way into circle every time it's changing with the storm always on your tail. Not only do you have to traverse a ton of distance coming from these angles, but you have a high chance of running into another squad on your way. This active side of the zone is also generally towards the center of the map, even more increasing the number of teams that are going to be passing through this area. All right, guys, I know we've all been on both sides of the situation, from struggling to make it into the circle before the zone catches us, to being well positioned and waiting for the lobby to come to us. Now, think about it. The second one is way less stressful. Seriously, guys, just do yourself a favor and stop playing the active side of zone. While it might be more exciting with more fights, it's way more stressful and set your squad up for failure. You'll still get plenty of action playing for the dead side of zone, and you'll remove a ton of those frustrating deaths where you get third-partied or just run up from a team out of the zone or randomly coming out behind you. Alright guys, this is a little side note, but if you keep getting run up on teams, maybe you need a team of your own. If you're looking to find people to help climb the ladder or just chill in some pubs, then check out the brand new Pro Guides Apex Legends Discord. There's a ton of players just like you improving at the game every day, just waiting to find players to play with. Make sure to check it out in the description below. Alright guys, let's say you find yourself in that active side of the zone. You should be looking to make a clean rotation into the dead side of zone as soon as possible. But this doesn't mean just blindly sprint to these points on the map. There are a lot of games where it might take you most of the game to make it to these choke points between the storm and the circle that we've been talking about. Sometimes you just have to deal with a poor zone to start off a match, but this doesn't mean you just have to give up on making these rotations. You aren't always going to have a legend like Valkyrie to cheese your way into a zone, so you need to be smart about your map movements. Usually, hugging the outside perimeter of the circle as you make your way around towards the dead side of zone is your best bet. These areas can often go through some pretty hot POIs, so stay flexible and adapt to what the game throws at you. But hugging the outer ring will keep you from getting stuck between two teams, as you can use the closing zone as cover in one direction. This is the same mindset as we discussed earlier with the dead side of the zone. Having the zone as cover in one direction will really help keep you safe and focused in one direction rather than two. Okay, so we've got the behavior of the ring, and you should know what to be looking for in a match. So we're good to go, right? Wrong. There's one major aspect of you finding success in your rotations that we haven't touched on yet, and that is your map knowledge. While it's great to have a good idea where the ring is headed, you don't actually know where the ring is headed if you don't know the map. Seeing where the ring is on the map and running to that skinny spot will only get you so far. You need to have a good understanding of what the actual terrain and cover options look like in every part of the map so that you can claim power positions within these areas. When you're making your decision on where to rotate, you should be looking for power positions to claim, not just hold any old spot in the dead side of zone on low ground. You've got to be able to recognize where high ground is, what buildings are easy to defend, and what areas are death traps. Now, guys, this does take time, and with the more games you play with these zone tips in mind, the more you will take in. Having great map knowledge helps you in every aspect of your game, but it helps you the most in your rotations and decision making throughout a match. This map knowledge will not only help you predict the zone since you know what points of interest it will favor on its rotation, but you'll also find power positions that will set your game up for success. Well, it wouldn't be a rotation or zone video if we didn't talk about this, but don't sleep on survey beacons. While we can predict the zone pretty accurately, beacons give you the guaranteed location of the next zone. Having good knowledge of where these beacons are located throughout the map and making sure to use them whenever they're available is another aspect of map knowledge that will pay off big time in your matches. Seriously guys, make understanding the zone in each game your highest priority and you will be surviving later and later into matches. Alrighty guys, I want to see you placing in the top 5 consistently in your upcoming matches. And what we discussed today may be some of the best tips that I can give you if your goal is to get better at placement. Seriously, if you apply what we talked about today in your games, you're going to have a way easier time making it to those final couple of rings. Let me know in the comments below what zone and rotating tips that you have that we didn't cover today. Anyway guys, my name has been Valued, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.